Exercise 2 tries to make this more difficult. They try to trick you by including a subtraction problem. But if I'm looking at my list of properties, there is no commutative property for subtraction. I cannot change the order around if I subtract. There is no associative property, there is no identity, there's no property I can use for a subtraction problem. So, just like we've been telling you for a week, I'm not really going to be a big fan of subtraction. I would much rather have addition, because if all I'm doing is adding, then there's all kinds of properties that I can use to make this problem simpler. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is rewrite the problem as an addition problem. Because if I rewrite this as addition, the negative 5.2 will stay the same, but then instead of subtracting, I'm going to add. And remember, if I'm going to change subtraction to addition, that means I'm going to have to add that opposite. So if I'm looking at a negative 3.1, well, now the opposite of that is going to be a 3.1. So this becomes much easier to see. And then I still have the plus 5.2 at the end. So as an addition problem, this becomes much easier to see. Now, I know these videos tend to become a little boring sometimes. So let me give you a math joke before we move any farther. What does this 2 and this 1 and this 2 all have in common with camping? What do the 2, the 1, and the 2 have to do with camping? Well, just like the 2 and the 1 and the 2, camping is in tenths. Get it? You camp in tenths, and the 2 is in tenths, and the 1 is in tenths, and the 2 is in tenths. So after you recover from that joke, the next thing you'll want to look at is the negative 5.2 and the 5.2. And if I can add these together, because these look like they would be close to the same number, something tells me this might be a good pair to do first. So looking at my property sheet, now I have an addition problem and another addition problem. All I'm doing is adding in the entire problem. So now I've got a list of properties that I can use, such as the commutative property. Because the commutative property allows me to change the order of my addends, I can add these numbers in any order, and I'll get the same answer. So what I'd really like is the negative 5.2 to be beside the 5.2. So let's write it that way. So now for step number 3, if I have a negative 5.2 and also a 5.2 and I add them together, well, this is an example of a vocab word, correct? 5.2 and negative 5.2, these would be opposites, these would be additive inverses. So if I add these together, if I go to the left of the number line, negative 5.2, and then go to the right, 5.2, well, I don't have anything. I've got 0. But I still have a 3.1. So these together will make 0, and I bring down my 3.1 because I haven't done anything with 3.1. Now my final answer, okay, 0 plus 3.1, yeah, sure. My final answer will be 3.1. And again, by rewriting this as an addition problem, by using my property list, this becomes a much easier problem to solve. And then for letter B, we're not going to solve this whole problem together, but I do want to give you a little bit of a head start. Right now I have an addition problem, so there's nothing I need to rewrite. I have 32 plus negative 12 and 7/8. But what I really want to do, so I don't make any silly mistakes, is to realize that the negative 12 and 7/8 is really in 2 parts. So I'm still going to have the 32, and I'm still going to add. But what am I really going to add? I'm going to add a negative 12, and then, well, okay, I told you I wasn't going to give you the whole problem. You actually got to work a little bit here. Negative 12 and what? Well, negative 12 and 7/8 is really going to be a negative 12 and also a negative 7/8. So go ahead. You look at your property list, look at the things you can do. What are the groupings that I want? Which 2 numbers do I really want to add first?